Hello, welcome to new gameplay today. I am your host, Wesley LeBlanc, as usual, and today we're going to be talking about a very special game. And if you can't tell already, that is Persona 5 Royal. Now, Wesley, this game came out years ago in 2019. I played it on PlayStation. Why are we doing a new gameplay today, right now? Well, that is because this is actually Persona 5 Royal running on Switch, which is something I know personally I have wanted for years. Basically, since the release of Persona 5 Royal, I have wanted this game on Switch. And now it's finally here. Well, almost. I have it on Switch, but it doesn't actually officially release until October 21st. So if you're watching this the day it came out on October 17th, Monday, then you're just a few days away from having this excellent JRPG on the go on your Switch. And so if you aren't familiar with Persona 5, and by the way, I'm not going to be talking about, everything happening on screen. Just as a note, it is basically within the first hour of the game. So if you haven't played, there's not really any spoilers here, and I'm not going to be spoiling any of them in-game. So don't be stressing about that. So Persona 5 actually came out in 2016, and then Persona as a series has been known to kind of release another version of the game with improvements and some changes and usually additional content. And that is what Persona 5 Royal is. If you've played Persona 5 and Royal, then you know Royal has like a whole new semester and some different systems, some quality of life improvements, and other things like that. There's plenty of stories online if you want to see the differences, but it's safe to say that Persona 5 Royal is like the conclusive way to play this game. In my opinion, there's really no reason to play Persona 5 anymore unless you want more of a challenge, I guess. I know the Platinum Trophy in Persona 5 on PlayStation is significantly harder to get than in Royal. But if you're looking for like the best possible Persona 5 experience, it's Royal 100%. So if you're unfamiliar, it takes place in Tokyo, and you are playing a high school student known as Joker. You get to name them, of course, so mine is named Wesley LeBlanc, which is funny because my last name LeBlanc is also the name of the cafe that is your home in this game, the LeBlanc Cafe. And long story short, you gain access to personas, which are like basically monsters that you use to fight enemies in a kind of like parallel world, universe, realm, whatever you want to call it, happening in the real world. So not everybody can see your personas, but you can see other personas out and about in the world. And kind of the premise of the entire game is you are a phantom thief, which is like an organization you helped create, and you use your personas to go into the mind palaces of bad people in the world. For example, the first palace you'll go into is a volleyball coach who treats his students like crap and harasses women at school. He's a terrible dude, and you go into his mind palace and basically like reveal to him subconsciously that he's a bad guy. Which kind of saves the day, or you save the day by making that happen, because he goes back to the real world and blah blah blah. I'm a bad guy, I shouldn't have done this. Boom, you did it. Saved a lot of students. That's awesome. And the story escalates greatly from there. I'm not going to go into details again because of spoilers, but while that first palace is one of the more like content heavy ones, the scale of other palaces grows to be quite extreme. That's one of the best parts of this game, is seeing like what the next palace is and doing the research and finding out, your next not victim, but who your next suspect is, and how you're going to tackle their palace and ultimately take them down. But yeah, so what you're seeing here, if you're unfamiliar with Persona 5, is I know there's a special literary term for it, but you're kind of thrown way ahead into the story, and then you're going to kind of, when you finally get to go hands-on with the game, you control Joker as he first gets to Tokyo, and you're going to kind of be building the bridge between this part of the game and everything that led up to it. And so if this part is confusing for you, it's kind of supposed to be. The story is built around this mystery and the amnesiac state that Joker is kind of in here in this scene. And what you're looking at here is one of the new characters for Royal, That's Kasumi Yoshizawa. She's a new addition in Royal. She's not in Persona 5, and she's a great addition and has a very interesting arc and place in the Persona 5 story. And that's something I've greatly admired about Persona 5 Royal, is that they, it's not just quality of life updates, and it's not just like small additions, it's entire story arcs and a whole new semester and a bunch of extra content that, in my opinion, can drastically change your feelings on the game for the better. It does a lot, and if you have only played Persona 5, I truly believe playing through Persona 5 Royal is worth it. Of course, I know that's basically me saying, yeah, you should play this 140-hour RPG after you've already played the 100-hour version of it, but it is worth it by all accounts. If you want to know more about why it's worth it, you can read Game Informer's Persona 5 Royal review, which we wrote years ago when Persona 5 Royal came to PlayStation 4. We give it a 9.25. That was Brian Shea. Excellent review, so go read it if you're curious about our thoughts on the game as a whole. And so now we're jumping ahead to... I skipped some cutscenes and story stuff. Don't want to spoil that. We're jumping ahead to the part where Joker is first getting to Tokyo. And so this happens months before what we just witnessed at the start of the game. And I just kind of wanted to show this off because it's, one of the best parts of Persona 5, in my opinion, is how it familiarizes the locations of Tokyo and this area of Japan to the player. You are walking on these streets and you're going to different cafes, you're going and doing different activities, you're going to Shibuya and all that kind of stuff. And kind of subconsciously, at some point in the game, you'll realize you're not even really using the map. You're just like, these streets. These are your streets. This is where you live. This is where you go to get coffee. This is where you go to buy medicine. This is where you do laundry. Like, that's one of the most fascinating parts of the game for me, is how well designed Tokyo is. And I guess that comes from the fact that it's, based on real life Tokyo. If you've played Persona 5 and gone to Tokyo, I imagine it's a very, very cool experience. I have not yet had the chance to do that, but I'm hoping to, because I want to go scout out all those familiar locations. And so what you're doing here is looking for Sojiro Sakura's residence. He is the man that is taking you in. Long story short, Joker was expelled back home from his school and basically kind of outcast, so he's kind of having to come to Sakura's house to start anew, and that is going to include him working at Cafe LeBlanc and living in its attic. And that's a fun relationship. I'm not gonna dive too deep into that here, but that's one of the more fun aspects of this game, is watching Joker and Sakura's relationship develop over the 100 hours in this game. Also, the coffee shop that he runs, lots of attention to detail from Atlas, very cool. I was a barista for like 5.5 years, and I love the descriptions of the type of coffee you're having, and the way it's roasted and all that kind of stuff, which speaks to Persona 5 Persona 5 Royal and Atlas's attention to detail overall. Like, they just care so much about every little part of this JRPG, and I think that's why, years and years later, Persona 5 is still being talked about in a big way, and I think its legacy is gonna last a very long time. It really is a very special game. Not because its combat is amazing, and not because its story is amazing, but because of all this attention to detail, and because of its depiction of Tokyo, and because of where the story goes, and the different arcs that take place, and all the agency it gives your character Joker. It's really a good time. And so you can see here, you're finally meeting the manager of this coffee shop, who happens to be the man you are looking for. Getting a taste of his personality here. He's a stern gentleman.
None of my concern.
Well, see you next time.
And I guess the customers can appreciate that. And so now Joker finally gets to meet the person that will become kind of like his pseudo dad or caretaker or guardian. Please take care of me. That's a funny dialogue piece.
Yeah. I'm Sojiro Sakura, You'll be in my custody over the next year. I was wondering what kind of unruly kid would show up. But you're the one, huh?
Here's the
Have you
thing.
been told?
Joker gets a lot of flack for being an unruly kid and all this kind of stuff, but
Follow me.
the reason he's in trouble or got in trouble is because he jumped into
Is your room.
basically a man,
At least give
you
me
know,
sheets for your
drunkenly
bed.
kind of forcing himself onto a woman in
Look like you
public
wanna
or
say
somewhere
something.
public, and Joker saw it and tried to intervene, which is the right thing to do. But it got him in trouble because I guess the guy ended up getting hurt.
I'll be leaving
And
after I
it's
lock up.
kind of not cool that
You'll be
Joker's
alone
in
at
so
night,
much
but don't
trouble.
do anything
So,
stupid.
Joker, if you're listening, good for you.
Now then,
Who cares what these people say?
I got the gist of your
Also, they have no
situation.
idea what you're going to be doing over the next 140 hours in
Protected
this
some
game,
woman from
and
a
that's
man
very funny.
forcing himself on her. He got injured, then sued you, right? That's what you get for sticking your nose in a matter between two adults.
Okay,
And
Sojiro.
now that you've got a criminal record, you were expelled from your high school. The courts ordered you to transfer and move out here, which your parents also approved. In other words, they got rid of you for being a pain in the ass. It's best you not talk about anything unnecessary. I am in the restaurant business, you know. Behave yourself for the year. If nothing happens, your probation will be lifted.
Yeah, so as you can see, he's kind of playing the tough guy
Really,
act up a bit, in
It's
my
the word
opinion.
that applies to you. Your sentence lasts until next
A
spring.
little harsh on Joker. Little
That's
harsh.
why you can leave here for
Everyone
1 year.
around Joker's a little harsh.
Cause any problems,
in the
and you'll
beginning,
be
and
sent
you'll
straight to juvie.
Learn more about that
We'll
if
be
you
going
play
to
the game.
Shujin tomorrow.
And so basically, he's telling you that you need to go sign up for
Shujin
school
Academy.
tomorrow
The school
at
you'll be
Shujin
attending.
Academy,
We'll introduce
and that
ourselves
is
properly to the
going to
staff.
be one of the major
There's rarely a
hubs
place
in
to
your
accept
Persona 5
someone
Royal
like
journey.
you, you know? What a
You're
waste of
going
my
to be taking
Sunday.
classes there, passing tests, meeting new
You'll get
friends,
to
doing
ride
all
a while
kinds of
ago.
things there.
I brought it up.
And so real quick, I just kind of wanted to touch on the Switch performance of Persona 5 Royal. I've played it on PS5, well, the PS4 version on PS5, so I can definitely tell that there's a drop in resolution, especially when I played this Switch version on my TV. But like, the game's art style is so unique and visually impressive that it still looks great, even at that dropped resolution. And as far as frame rate goes, I think it's 30 frames, but like it's not dropping or coming into any glitches or hitching at all. So in almost every way, it feels exactly like it did playing on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. There are Xbox Series X, S, and PC versions coming out, and a PS5 version. And that has increased frame rate to 60 FPS, but in my opinion, I actually think the 30 FPS looks better with this animation style. Yeah, something about the 60 FPS just gives the characters and the world a matte look, and the smoothness kind of takes away some of the charm, in my opinion. So if I wasn't, you know, already
I heard you
nearing the
making
end
all
of a
sorts
playthrough
noise
on
up here. I didn't think you were
PlayStation
cleaning.
5, which, you know, the PS4 version, I'd probably do a playthrough on Switch. I think the Switch is one of the best places to
Actually,
play this game.
place doesn't
Considering
look
it's
too
so
bad.
long, it's nice to
It's
be able to
only
take your
natural you wanna
console
keep your room tidy.
on the go.
Why don't you go to bed
But yeah,
tonight?
so that wraps up our time
You
with
don't have
Persona
anything better to
5
do anyway.
Royal
I'm going to
today
close
on
up shop and
Switch.
get out of here
Again,
myself.
this hits Switch, Xbox
I won't be the one
consoles,
looking
and
after you if
PC
you
on
get sick
October
from staying up too
21st, and you can
Got
go
that?
read our original review of Persona 5 Royal on Game Informer right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this installment of New Gameplay Today. Have a great day.